Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to Unity of Columbus, where we're a community that's filled with love, hope, and just gathering of people who are like-minded. My name is Cedric Miller. I'm a guest minister at Unity of Columbus, and I'm happy to be here with you on this Sunday here. I know we have a different way that we're broadcasting now due to the concerns in the community and around the world. We're going to be having our messages through online. And there'll be more information that will be coming forth this week of how you can get into our ministries and into our sermons here on Sundays online. That information is going to be posted online. But first and foremost, I want to say welcome to Unity of Columbus. We have again, a great staff. We have great members of our church. And if ever you're here in the Columbus area and you're looking for a home, when you're out of town, we welcome you. And for those who also live in the Columbus area, we ask you too to stop in at our church, and you'll find that, again, you're very much welcome, and you'll find a lot of friends among you, and just a really good time. We're wonderful church, and again, we have wonderful people that you enjoy spending time with. So today's sermon I've named Standing in Faith. Standing in Faith. Faith is one of those things where when things are going good, it's easy to kind of feel as if everything is going to continue to be good. But in challenging times like this is when we really have to, our faith is tested. It is definitely tested. And this is the time that we have to really shore up and know that God is in control of everything. I always like to start off with a biblical verse to align with the message of the week. And this week I like to speak from Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Again, that's Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence not seen. Again, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And that can be a tough time. That can be one of the toughest challenges when we are looking forward to something happening and we're not seeing it, because we're visual creatures and we've been taught to really concentrate here on the physical world, things that happen here in the physical. But as we know, as Unity students, that there's the spiritual aspect of everything that happens in the physical world. Again, remember, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and not the reverse. So we have to start out and we have to go inside and create our world. And a part of that world is really having faith that the things that we ask for, that the things that we believe in, that those are going to manifest and even have more stronger power than the things that we see out here in the natural world. And a lot of people may say here with the coronavirus and everything that's going on now, what good can come out of this? There was a spiritual minister, I knew the name of, and you probably even remember her, Edwin Gaines. And she has this saying that goes, when anything happens in her life, I can't wait to see the good that's going to come out of this. Now that may go contrary to a lot of our beliefs, particularly when something not the best is happening and such. We could say, what good is going to come out of this? Well, for all things, God make all things good come out of all situations. And I've recently been thinking about, okay, well, what are some of the good things that I've noticed this week that I didn't notice the previous week? I myself and a lot of you out here online, we're now working remotely. And I live in this area where we have this pond, and it's right really in the back of our yard here. But I never really paid too much attention to it. I was always at work, getting up on time, getting out to work, going to the gym, always in this motion, this continuous motion of just doing. And recently, when working from home, I looked out and you see these ducks upon the pond. And what I even noticed is that nature is returning to this pond. And now I'm seeing birds that I've never seen before, and these ducks and geese, Canadian geese, are just out here just enjoying. You know why? They're not hearing the cars as much. It's not the pollution that's in the air. You know, nature is returning to what it originally was. And I have to say something about these ducks here in my backyard. They have a tendency to get to making a lot of noise at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I really don't have to set an alarm. They have a way of waking me up on time every day. So I'm grateful for that too. And also, I heard this story this week. Wonderful story. They say in Venice, Italy, and we know that there's a lot of tragedy that's going on in Italy now. But you know those canals with have these boats and people are going up and down the canal all the time. A lot of traffic during normal times. Well, this week they reported that dolphins have returned to this canal. Dolphins haven't appeared in this canal in hundreds of years. But dolphins now are back in this canal and such because they feel that nature has settled, things have settled. And if you notice around you, and you notice around your community, things are quieting. And I think that's people going within. They're recognizing now that, like, I'm sure like myself, that maybe we've been taking things a little bit for granted. Nature and the animal kingdom and our families, I was looking at Governor DeWine's message yesterday, and one of the things he said was about individuals connecting with their families again and having conversations with their family and writing letters to their family. And actually he came out and said, this would be a good time for my grandkids to write me a letter. So if you're out there and you're online and, if you've been communicating with individuals through sending emails and Facebook and all of these and Instagram, maybe it's just a good time to, take out a paper and pen and, send someone a poem or send someone a blessing, write something that can edify them. And the amazing thing about it is that, when you get a letter, it's something that you can hold on to, something that you can feel. My mom, when I was a lot younger, she always believed in writing letters and such. And at this particular time, this was in my early 20s, there was no email. And I was living in Detroit, and she and my family in Alabama, and she would write me these letters and such, and said, Cedric, don't work yourself too hard. And I kept and still have all those letters that Mom sent me. And there's just something about holding on to and seeing the effort that a person puts in when they write a letter to you. So consider some of the things that you can do, like board games and, again, having conversations with people that, during our business, we never really had an opportunity to communicate and talk with. And also, one of the things that we can never forget is miracles still exist. Miracles are not something that happened 2,000 years ago and don't happen anymore. Ask God. We can always ask God, show me a miracle, make a miracle happen, send an idea for someone to come up with a vaccine or send us an idea how we can avoid getting in contact with anything that can harm us. You know, the Native Americans, even now, but particularly years ago, they would have these large areas of land with vegetation and such. And they would pray and ask God for rain. You know, we consider it now a rain dance. But this was their way of praying. And rain would come. And people would say, well, that's a miracle. Well, the lesson that was learned from that was we can still ask God for miracles. You know, if you're looking at the television, you'll notice that most of the news is about the bad things that are about to happen, And if you're a person who consumes this and you listen to it, you have to really step back and say, okay, I understand that this person is in fear. And really, maybe even all of our world is in fear now. And the one thing about when if we're being fear, it's going to come out in our communication. It comes out in our talks. And we have to realize just because that's the reality for someone else doesn't mean that's my reality. One thing that we have to take in consideration of this, and again, one of my favorite writers is Catherine Ponder. Catherine has some of the most profound spiritual knowledge that I'd ever read before. And I remember learning once that Catherine said, another type of prayer is no. No. Just saying no. When I hear the news now that economically things are going to be this way and it's going to affect you and your neighbors and, you know, as far as me, I said no. No, I don't receive that. I don't receive that. When I hear that, well, by such and such, that there's a certain percentage of people are going to have the coronavirus. And I said, you know, I don't know what other people have in their minds or if they're receiving that. But I say to myself, no, I don't receive that. I don't receive that. I remember hearing Dr. Wayne Dyer speak once. He used to speak all around the world and such. And he said he would be on a plane or traveling and all of a sudden he'd get these sniffles or, you know, feeling this cold coming on. And he said that he would just speak to this virus. He would just say, look, you've landed on the wrong person. And I'm asking you to leave now. There's a tree over there. You know, there's this over here that you can land on, you know, but I'm asking you to leave. You just landed on the wrong person. And he said within a short amount of time, he would start to feel better. And also Dr. Dyer used to say this. He said, a disease cannot stay in a joyful body. Cannot stay in a joyful body. Someone was sent out a feed the other day. It was relating to information from people in the 15th century when they had an epidemic that happened in their era. And it was how to get through it, how to not be affected by this epidemic that was going on. And the information is to go out in the woods, to sing, to have fun, to dance, you know, all of these things that bring about joy. And these individuals found that when they did that, they experienced joy and they did not catch what was the virus or whatever that was happening in their community. And I think that's a lesson that we can learn during these times. It's, you know, the traditional way right now is to be afraid, is to just watch the news and to not enjoy ourselves. But I'm suggesting that we do the reverse, and that is to go out and in your own place, but to listen to good music, to enjoy yourself, to spend time, to play board games, to have fun, to really, really pick up your energies. Because when you pick up your energies, you'll find that you feel better, not only mentally, but also physically. And within that, Catherine Ponder has a affirmation. I mean, you know, affirmations are powerful. And her affirmation is, I have unshakable faith in the perfect outcome of every situation in my life, for God is in absolute control. I'm going to repeat that. I have unshakable faith in the perfect outcome of every situation in my life, for God is in absolute control. One more time. I have unshakable faith in the perfect outcome of every situation in my life, for God is in absolute control. And God is in absolute control. And sometimes, we say, well, what's going on now? Well, one of the things we can do also is ask ourselves is, what is the lesson that there is to learn in this situation? What is the lesson? Is the lesson that we need to pay more attention to our families? We need to slow down? Is the lesson that we need to concentrate more on the spiritual rather than on the material? Is the lesson that we need to quit thinking about the fights that happen between countries and our differences? Is the lesson that we need to pay attention to the similarities that we have? Because what we're seeing now is the paradigm has changed. When you see individuals in life and such, people now are more peaceful with each other during this situation. So maybe that's a question to ask is, what is the lesson in this situation? What is there for me to learn? What is there as a society, as a world, that we're to learn? How did we manifest, situations in our lives that concern us? And what can we do as a society to better manage ourselves and our outside world, whereas there's more harmony? And within that harmony, we'll find that we have perfect health and success and abundance, everything that we ever wanted. And again, that means that we have to operate in love. Darren, one of our board members at Unity of Columbus, one of his words that he always radiate with is that word love. Everything comes back to love, love. And I really thoroughly enjoy his messages and the words that he put out in regard of love. Because obviously the opposite is fear. And during this time, that is not an area we want to concentrate in. If you take a look at Job in the Bible, Job 3:25, Job was having all of these problems that happened. Like one thing happened, then another thing happened, then another thing happened. And he said, he finally got it one day. It just clicked, and he said, the things that I fear the most have come upon me. The things that I fear most have come upon me. Now, if you relate that back to the message from the people who were speaking back in the 15th century, meaning that go out in the wilderness, have fun, dance, enjoy, and such, what they were saying is, get in a spirit of joy, because joy completely releases all fears. And as the Bible said, perfect love casts out all fear. So when we're in a state of joy, and I know this is going completely contrary to what we've been taught, but when we're in a sense of joy, our body is healthy. Our body is radiating wellness and whole being. So, maybe it's time to, not completely, but maybe turn off that TV for a moment, and again, listen to some nice music. Talk to your friends on the radio. Not get inundated with the news, because this news is not gonna get any better on TV. It's gonna go from one projection of what's gonna happen to another, to another, to another. And again, maybe it's sometimes to say, instead of me watching this for an hour a day, maybe I should just, look at it for 5-10 minutes. Or maybe I can go and read the newspaper online. But limit it. Limit it. There's still joy around us. And, and a lot of our teachers now are saying, particularly for those out there who have children, we want to stay away from anxiety and things that get us anxious, because it ends up going onto children and making children afraid. So let's, instead of, again, turning on that TV, particularly around children, let's take out some board games. Make sure that the kids are still doing their homework. Call your parents. Call your grandparents. Get in connection with friends that you haven't talked with in years. Maybe like me, you still have some CDs around that you haven't listened to in years. Let's, open up those CDs and listen to those CDs. In essence, the message that I'm getting across is put yourself in a sense of joy. Do the opposite of what the world is doing. The world is asking us to get into fear, to get into blame, to get into anxiety, to start thinking that everything is going to go bad in our life. Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn on some nice classical music. Light a candle. Spend time, with a hobby that you enjoy. And we may find out, just like the people back in the 15th century, that when this passed, we haven't been affected at all. Well, I want to thank you for being here today and looking at this message here. And again, Unity of Columbus is here for you. We're here to support you. We're here to provide you any information that you may need to help you during this time. And the Silent Unity has a 24-hour, 7 days a week prayer ministry where they take calls. So if I'm not incorrect in this, it's 1-800-PRAY-NOW. Call Silent Unity and pray. But also, pray with your family. This will be a great time to get back to having dinner together as a family at a table and share things and turn on some nice music. Again, not all the bad news that's coming out of the TV and such right now, but again, pray, meditate, do the things, exercise, home exercise, yoga. There's yoga on YouTube and all these wonderful things that you could be practicing now. And again, we're here for you. And thank you again for being with us here on this beautiful, beautiful Sunday afternoon. Enjoy yourself and have a blessed week.